Good morning. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you guys for coming out to in the weather. First of all, my name is Detrick DeBurr. I'm with Game Time Giving. Game Time Giving is a sports fan engagement platform. It allows nonprofit organizations to raise money at sporting events by creating a giving competition between the particular fans at that particular event. Now, you may be wondering now, well, why are we actually doing this? First of all, I've served on several nonprofit boards. And one thing I know for sure is that nonprofits live and die by their ability to raise money. The reason that it's so difficult, though, is that it's expensive. I don't know if you knew this or not, but it costs a typical nonprofit in the U.S. about $150 just to get a first-time donor. The typical age of that donor in the U.S., and we've learned this kind of works the same way around the rest of the world, is around the age of 55 years old. And they generally don't even break even on these guys for the first 2 years. Now, we have learned that millennials, people between the ages of 25 and 35, and according to Giving 2.0, actually give about $100 per year to various charitable organizations. So while you have nonprofits that are struggling to bring in their first-time donors, the people who they really want to go after, they simply can't afford to. It's simply a cost issue. Now, we know this is a huge issue, but we also know that the solution already exists. I'll share it with you. Do you guys remember the Ice Bucket Challenge? All right, got to tell you a few things about it. First of all, the Ice Bucket Challenge broke all types of fundraising records for muscular dystrophy. First of all, they raised over $100 million for muscular dystrophy, okay? More importantly, they lowered the typical age of their first-time donor from 45 all the way down to 37. Now, that's 8 more years of giving. This is huge when it comes to a nonprofit, okay? So the real question is, how did they do this, right? What was the recipe? Well, they used fun, they used excitement, they used challenge. They used what we call game mechanics. And that's what we do with Game Time Giving. What we do is we use game mechanics to lower the cost of capturing this new donor, to capture a considerably younger donor, and by gamifying the giving process, we put a little fun back into fundraising. Let me kind of show you how it works. Now, here's an example here. Let's take this guy, John, right? Now, John is a diehard Texas fan. He's down at the Texas OU football game. Now imagine John looks up at the scoreboard, he sees that Texas has 7, OU has 14, and let's be honest, John is not happy about that. Okay? Now, but also periodically, John can see the Game Time Giving pledge totals. So he can see that as an aggregate, these Texas fans have pledged $7,180 to various charitable organizations during the game. He also can see that the Oklahoma fans have pledged $9,450 to various charitable organizations during that game. I guess you can imagine John's not happy about that either, right? Now let's put this in perspective. There's absolutely nothing that John can do about the score of the football game that at least won't get him arrested, right? But John received an email from his alumni association and said, hey John, did you know that you could pledge to us and give a few dollars and also support the football team at the same time? And that's exactly what John decides to do. He decides to take matters in his own hands. So what he does is, on the platform, you can access it several ways, but he uses the app. And what he does is he clicks the $2 button, right? Just a few times. Now here's what he did. He made a small pledge to his alumni association in his name, right? But he's driven up those pledge totals for Texas. That goes out on his Facebook and it goes out on Twitter, encouraging many people to do the same thing, and other people in the stands, driving up these pledge totals for Texas. Now, imagine, let's say it's the end of the third quarter. Look up at the scoreboard. John and his bunch, they're now at $9,790, but the Oklahoma fans have only pledged $9,450. Now, you're an Oklahoma fan. Are you going to take this challenge from John and the Texas fans lying down? I absolutely don't think so. And that's when we say the real game begins. Now, here's the interesting. Now, I can hear you saying, fundraising at a football game sounds interesting, but really, actually, it's a pretty huge business. For example, there's a group called Pursuant Sports. The University of Alabama uses a tool called Plant the Flag to the tune of $80,000 per season. The primary goal and objective is that to turn their fans into philanthropists. Imagine the people that love us are in the stands already. They're not going anywhere. And that's exactly what these programs are designed to do. So we're going after the Texas OU games, the LSU Alabama games, the Auburn, Georgia games. But with that said, we've actually, first of all, we did have an agreement with the Dallas Stars hockey team. We've actually had a verbal agreement with the FC Dallas. And so what we're currently doing and been doing over the last year or so is working outside of the U.S. For example, the Hive Foundation is a global sports innovation organization, and we were part of their 2017 top 50 startups in the world. We were also a part of the Global Sports Innovation Center, and we still are right now, which is sponsored by Microsoft, based out of Spain. And then finally, what we're doing is we're partnering with a company here in the U.S. called FanWide. What they do is basically host watch parties, pretty much for the people. So with that said, how do we turn this into a business? It's real simple. What we do is we charge a listing fee to all the nonprofits that are actually listed in our app, and then we charge a transaction fee or a commission on all the pledges that are converted over into donations. Now with that said, our real long-term play basically is actually in big data and fan analytics, and that's where we're going. So we know we're going to make a huge financial impact, guys, but we're also going to make a huge social impact by gamifying the giving process, by putting a little bit of fun back into fundraising. And that's how we're going to change the world. We're just going to do it one game at a time. So with that said, I'd love to answer any questions you guys might have.
Thank you very much. Great job. Obviously, you've done it once or twice before.
A couple.
Thank you very much. Questions? Again, same process. We'll hold on the microphone until your questions are answered so we can get everything on the monitor or the video.
How would you get fans to download the app? And won't it be a distraction to the game?
Actually, that's a great question. For starters, first of all, what we do is we encourage them to download prior. That's the first thing. So, and second of all, we actually use the downtime in the game to actually encourage people to do so. And is it a distraction to the game? The typical football game has about 20 to 30 seconds of downtime between every play. Okay, so there's a lot of downtime at sporting events. That's why we have the cheerleaders and the dots and the different things anyway. So is it a distraction to from the game? Yes, from the actual action. But most of the time in a game, most people are filling that time with other things anyway, and they all have their phones out already.
So are you already doing fundraising at games, and how has that gone so far?
That's a great question. Actually, our agreement with the Stars, we actually did not do it. Have you ever been to a 50-50 raffle? Have you ever seen those? You guys seen those basically? With the Cowboys, but basically what happened is we voted to do that, and so we were the second option, but they did extremely well and they did not use that. So we raised about, it was about $80-some-odd thousand total over 2015. Across the different games, but none of the pro games that we were with.
Thank you for presenting. Great job. I spend quite a bit of time working with nonprofits, and I just want to say, brilliant idea. I think that is fantastic. Anything you can do to get people involved in giving in a novel way that is not just, that actually supporting and the gamification is just brilliant. You charge a fee for nonprofits to buy in. Why not just charge them a fee on the back end and not have that barrier to entry?
That's a great question. Actually, well, the way we do it is, first of all, we have two things. We have what's called a preferred charity and a non-preferred charity. In the case, for example, of the Dallas Stars, right? The Dallas Stars hockey team, as an event partner, have the ability to choose what's their charitable organization that they want the primary source that they push, right? Which in their case happen to be the Stars Foundation. They don't pay anything. Basically what happens is that we are getting access to the scoreboard that they would have given them in the first place, okay? Now the listing fee is only $499 a year. So if you think about it, it's a relatively small amount, and we do want some investment on their behalf. So that was the rationale for it. And many times we've actually refunded that and just given it back to them anyway. as a gift.
Thank you. That was actually my question. On the listing fee, do you back that out of the donations that come in?
No, we do not, but we have before, and that's just been on a case-by-case basis. Typically in a nonprofit, about 35% of the any give stays in-house anyway, just on the cost.
So for the donation, do they need to kind of combine their credit cards with the like app, or it will be like a different mechanism for them to make a small amount or large amount donations?
Right.
Thanks.
Right. The way it works is, first of all, all we do is we capture it as a pledge. That's number one. Number two, we basically access the wallet that you currently use on your phone. So if you've ever purchased an Amazon or anything like that, you've used anything from Venmo all the way over to a credit card transaction, which you actually can take a picture of. So we use your primary wallet first, but we give you the option to choose which one it is. But the transaction itself is at the end of the game, because you may have clicked that $1 button 7 or 8 times. So it's not an individual, it's at the end. And then, and even if you don't pay that, you just can't play again. That's all. So the pledge still has to be converted, but it can be converted anytime after the game.
Another question for you. So, first of all, people who haven't gone to the website is really cool and gives a lot more information about how things work, and you see how the games are played and how people compete against each other. Competition is really cool. So, what can we do for you today? What are you looking for that we can help you as an audience to grow and become very, very successful?
Well, first of all, you guys are extremely, very active people. So your nonprofit organization, for the most part, we work primarily through the Center for Nonprofit Management locally here in Dallas to access nonprofits. But, you know, we go through those channels. But everybody on here probably has served on the board or something, but something that they support already. So we'd love to talk to those nonprofits. And especially because they're Dallas, they're local, we like getting them involved and getting them engaged anyway. Case in point, I'll share with you. The Texas Legends, right, which is a team that we have a verbal agreement with, but that verbal agreement is based solely upon the organization that they already support. I don't know if you know how their games work, but the Legends is the only developmental team that has a charity every single game. I don't know if you knew this or not. The Texas Legend is the only one that does this. So whereas the Stars or the Mavs have the Mavs Foundation, every single one. And so they have told us whenever our organizations want to use you guys, no problem. So that's our agreement with them. So what you can do for us is, if you're already affiliated with one of these organizations, say, hey, you know, we have this novel way to do this. More importantly, keep in mind what we're doing. Our goal is to get people to give to you the first time. And what happens is that generally is a large gift, and it's needed to be a large gift to make sense for a City United way. To give them $50, they'll take it, but it costs them $49 to process that. You see the problem? It costs them relatively nothing to take $2 or $3 via game time. So that's the trade-off. Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned you haven't done this at a game yet. So have you done any betas, and have
Yeah,
you
that's what I'm saying,
done
none
it
of
at small events?
I'm glad you said that. None of the pro games, which were our agreements, but we've had tests throughout. We've tested this, actually, we've tested it more outside of the U.S. than we have inside of the U.S. That's where the 81 I said came from over 2015. So, but they've been at games that, not the Dallas Stars game is my point. That was my whole point.
Curious, nosy, maybe question. You've mentioned 80,000, 81,000 in 2015.
That's the total number.
Right. How much have you raised in 2016 and 2017?
Actually, we did not raise any in 2016, and here's the reason why. Because we focused 100% outside of the U.S. I was telling somebody this before. We didn't do any of the games that we did in 2015. That's the answer to the question.
So what are you going to do to turn that around?
Actually, we're not necessarily trying to. We're focused pretty much 100% outside of the U.S. That's just pretty much been the focus. Case in point, the Hype Foundation, which are based out of Tel Aviv and Global Sports Innovation Center. We just happened to be in Dallas, and we just happened to get the stars. So it's like we took them, but then we got to focus somewhere, and we focused on the people that called us.
Thanks. Question is the chicken or the egg?
Sure.
Are you looking for the charities first or the games first, or do you try and bring the partners together?
Actually, we try to bring the partners together. So our initial target is always to the athletic director of development at any Division I school. Okay, so we probably talked to all of you already. The irony of that is, like I said, the Dallas Stars reached out to us, the Dallas Mavericks reached out to us, FC Dallas reached out to us. So it's always been easy to give money away to nonprofits. That hasn't been an issue. It's always the charities. It's always the event partners, and here is why. There's a liability issue, number one. Second of all, many of them also have, may not, case in point, the Dallas Cowboys do not have an official nonprofit arm, although they use the Salvation Army as an example. So it's a low priority for them, but at the end of the day, events is what drives us.
So what's the feedback why you don't have more customers or business flowing in the U.S.?
Yeah, I'll use a very concrete example. Let's take the FC Dallas. As of January 1st of this year, for example, right? Now, this is there's a two-part law here, but the 50-50 raffle has been the crux of it. In 2015, we voted in November to pass a law that allowed many of these organizations to do their own 50-50 raffles. Okay, and so there was a huge push to do this, and that's what they did. There's secondary partners like the developmental league, the Texas Stars, which is the junior level league of the Dallas Stars, right, have the ability to do so now. Okay, and so they're pretty much, that's where their focus is. With that said, their focus has been to take full advantage of the 50-50 because they spend so much money on it, and I get it 100%. And our focus has been outside the country. Like I said, if they'll call us up, and if they call us back, we have no problem with actually doing anything. So it's a focus issue.
Last question this morning. Sure.
So it seems to me on the event partner piece, like the Cowboys, the Stars, one of the avenues that you could go is go with the sponsoring founders of those teams, because those are the ones that give them the money. So in case of the Cowboys, a Miller Coors, a Pepsi, who does all the marketing actually for them. And they would partner with you at the games.
Right. Actually, that's interesting you say that, because that was the situation with the FC Dallas, and Toyota was a big partner of theirs. This was right. Their issue, and I'm going to oversimplify just for the sake of this discussion, there was a lot of money spent to get the 50-50 raffle passed. When I say a lot of money, millions of dollars, because it was passed also in Texas and in California at the same time. Basically, what they're doing is they're setting up case law for the gambling. So, but yes, great point. Thank you.
So this morning, what can we do for you? What are you looking for that we can help you with?
Just cheer us on. Keep going. We're in default alive.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Thank you.